Yo, yo, yo. Okay, conspiracy of the day is Robert F. Kennedy. We're questioning the official narrative surrounding his assassination. So the official narrative says that he was at the Ambassador Hotel on June 6, 1968, when he was approached by Sirhan Sirhan, his assassin. And you might be asking yourself, well, why would we question that? That happened. Well, according to some people, not. According to not only Robert F. Kennedy's son, but also the chief medical examiner who was on the scene and conducted what was called the perfect autopsy. They both actually do not believe this. We'll get into why they don't believe this, but before we do, if you could do me a huge favor, if you enjoy content like this, please do like and subscribe. My co-creator will be working hard to pump it out pretty regularly, weekly. So show us some love. But back to Robert F. Kennedy. So his son, the medical examiner, neither of them believe that. They actually state that there was a second shooter who killed Robert F. Kennedy, and they believe that they did this from behind. And as you know, Robert F. Kennedy's brother, President Ted Kennedy, was also assassinated. And so this is a really buzzing topic, and I think with Trump's election, it'll probably be even more so. Trump, when asked by Joe Rogan about the Kennedy files, he had a very interesting answer. So why don't we take a look at that?
One of the things that I want to talk to you about is the JFK files. And one of the things that you said was that if they showed you what they showed me, this was your quote, you wouldn't want people to know it either.
Wow.
So I opened them up partially. I was met with, from good people, good people. People that were well-meaning. Mike Pompeo was one of them. He's a good person. They called me. They said, "Sir, would rather have you not." And I did open them, but I was asked by some people not to open them. There's a Martin Luther King file too, by the way, that they'd like to see. I don't know if you know, but there is that. But JFK in particular. So they called me. A lot of good people called me.
You know, we'll keep playing this, but I found that really odd. I mean, Joe Rogan's question was pretty crazy. Like, he told him, Trump stated that if you were shown what I was shown, you would not want to release it either, or something like that. And that's crazy. So what's in those files, honestly? And when they are released, will they be shredded? Probably. But let's keep playing and see what else Trump has to say here.
People that that you would find reasonable people, and they asked me not to do it. So I said, well, we'll close it for another time. But if I win, I'm going to open them up. I'm just going to open enough.
Why didn't you open it up the first time?
Because a lot of times,
what was the hesitation?
Addresses, people that are still living. There are people that are affected, and there could be some national security reason that I don't have to necessarily know about. But some very good, talented people asked me not to do it. I opened it up, and then they said, would it be possible for us to do that a different day?
How much of it did you read into?
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office.
Well, the thing, when people look at it from the outside and you sort of imagine what could be a reason why they would not release those files, it would be there's people that were implicated in the assassination.
Yeah. Well, when there are living people, you generally tend not to want to do it. When people are still living.
What?
Living people that formerly worked
for the government, and living people that were somehow involved in it, and you tend.
Okay, so basically Trump just admitted there are living people who would be implicated if the truth about JFK's assassination came out. And I know that this video is covering Robert Kennedy, but the fact that they hesitated opening them when they did because they didn't want to implicate anybody, that's freaking scary. Like, that's terrifying. And honestly, and we'll get a little more into this, but there's a lot of times that the CIA has unclassified documents, and it's been found out later that they just shredded everything. So if they're getting this much notice, I doubt we'll ever really get to the truth. And I'll save us some time here. Trump kind of just goes on a tangent after this. I liked old Trump better. old Trump did not go on tangents. So we'll skip ahead with this, and we'll go straight to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And see what he has to say regarding his father's assassination.
By the LAPD. It was, first of all, I would dispute that.
And so just, I know I kind of shuffled back and forth there. So this is Vlad TV. Vlad asks Robert Kennedy Jr. about his father's assassination. He says, hey, here's what happened. He was in the Ambassador Hotel. He was assassinated by Robert Sirhan. And right here, Robert Kennedy Jr. says, actually, I would dispute that that is what actually happened. And then he goes into what he believes happened, which is very different from what everyone else thinks happened. So let's take a look here. I mean, if anyone would know, you think it might be the family of the victim as to what happened. So let's play this.
First of all, I would dispute that description of what happened.
Okay.
I don't believe that Sirhan's bullets ever hit my father.
Okay.
And
That's very telling. So I'm not going to pause again until he makes his point here, but he does not believe Sirhan, who went to jail for murdering his dad, did murder his dad. What? So who did? Like, let's get into that.
neither did the coroner, Thomas Noguchi, who is probably the most famous coroner in American history, who did an autopsy that is known as the perfect autopsy. He actually flew in the chief coroners of all the every branch of the military service to sit in the surgery theater to watch what he did because he knew what had happened in Dallas, and he didn't want to repeat. And what he found, Sirhan had fired.
And maybe we should explore that at some point. He knew what happened in Dallas. I assume he's referring to the assassination of Ted Kennedy, and the coroner somehow thought that maybe the autopsy wasn't true or something. I don't know. Let's keep playing.
Sirhan had 8 shots. He had a 22 revolver, or 8 shots in it, and he fired 2 shots at my father. One of those shots hit the first shot, hit Paul Schrade, who was the UAW, the United Auto Workers deputy chief. There was only 2 unions that supported my father: the United Auto Workers and Cesar Chavez Union. And Paul Schrade had recruited Cesar Chavez to the United Farm Workers, so he was very close to my dad. He got shot in the head, and he was okay. And, he actually died a year and a half ago and spent the last 20 years of his life trying to get Sirhan out of prison, the man who shot him. The other shot went past my father's head and hit a door jamb behind him, and it was later removed by the LAPD. It was dug out of the door jamb. The whole door jamb was removed. He was then pounced upon by 6 men, including Rafer Johnson, who was the 1960 decathlon champion, gold medal Olympian, one of my father's closest friends, and Rosie Greer, who was one of the fearsome foursome, who had been a bodyguard for my dad. He was one of the most famous football players of his time, and 4 other people, including the guy who was the director or the concierge of the Ambassador Hotel. And they pounced on him. They took his hand and pointed away from my father. So they pointed the opposite direction. Rafer Johnson later told me that he tried to get the gun out of Sirhan's hand, but Sirhan had superhuman strength. He's a little tiny man. I've met him. I spent
5'5", I think.
Yeah, he's tiny. But he couldn't, this big, Rafer is like 6'4" and solid muscle. He could not get and you had a professional lineman from, the Oakland Raiders there that day. And they couldn't get it. So he fires 6 more shots in the opposite direction and empties the chamber of his gun. He's always in front of my father, by the way. My father, he's sitting with his back to a steam table, and they bent him over the steam table, and he fired the bullets this way. As you pointed out, Those bullets each hit people. So 5 people, one of them got hit twice. So if you just do the math, my father got shot 4 times from behind. And he only hit 8 bullets in his gun. He didn't reload. We know what happened to the first 2, and we know what happened to the second 6. We know what happened to every one of those bullets. My father was killed from behind. He was shot 4 times. One of the shots went harmlessly through the shoulder pad of his suit. The other 3 were fatal or potentially fatal. And one of them was right behind.
This is freaking crazy. So 8 bullets shot, all of them accounted for, and he says his father was shot from behind. I'm going to keep playing this for you. But before I do, and this might not be the most unbiased source, justiceforjfk.com, but this is the coroner's report. And this is the coroner, Thomas Noguchi, who conducted the autopsy that was done and has determined, the deaths of, many Hollywood celebrities, including Sharon Tate, oddly enough, Robert F. Kennedy. So we'll get into more of this, but all 8 bullets were accounted for. Okay, so Senator was shot 4 times allegedly from behind his body. That's what these, his son and the coroner are claiming. 1 shot missed him and passed through his jacket shoulder. 3 shots actually hit him. He was shot 4 times from behind. Wound 1, the fatal shot. Wound 2, through and through, right shoulder. Wound 3, neck bullet, power residue, found blasting effect. Every single witness to the Sirhan shooting in the pantry placed the muzzle of the gun in Sirhan's outstretched arm, no closer than 1.5 feet in front of JFK. Coroner Thomas Noguchi has consistently stated publicly that he did not determine that Sirhan shot Senator Kennedy. So he testified about this, and we'll let Robert F. Kennedy keep talking here.
Behind his ear, all of them were contact shots. That's what Thomas Noguchi found, meaning the barrel of the gun was either touching his skin or his clothing and was and left a carbon tattoo, or was close enough, within an inch, close enough to leave a carbon tattoo. And the gun was being held at an upward angle. So he was shot from behind by somebody who was standing behind him with the gun pressed between the 2 of them and firing. And
so just to illustrate why this is so compelling, so Sirhan was in front of him. Every witness stated that. All 8 bullets accounted for. But the senator had gunshot wounds from behind, so close that they left a carbon footprint on him. That means the muzzle of the gun tattooed his skin. And I don't even know why this is a conspiracy. Like, this is freaking crazy. So who does Robert Kennedy Jr. think did this? Let's see.
That man was almost certainly Eugene Thane Cesar, who was a security guard who had been hired the day before. So they already knew when he got the job, he already knew my father was going to be at that hotel. His full-time job was at the Lockheed plant, and before that he had worked at another defense plant, which was Howard Hughes' company. And he had top security classifications at that plant. Lisa Pease, who's a researcher, has found documents where he self-identifies as a CIA agent. He ended up leaving the country. He was very outspoken against my father. He believed that my father would start a race war, and my father would put blacks in charge of the country, and he hated blacks. And he ended up leaving the country. He died about 1.5 years ago in the Philippines.
Okay, so we kind of wrap this up here. I want to look this guy up, but basically the video doesn't really go much longer after that. But at the end, and I'll just let you know, you guys can watch the video on Vlad TV if you want to see more of it. But at the end, Robert Kennedy concludes that his father was assassinated by people in the intelligence community, or that it's likely that his father was assassinated by people in the intelligence community. I can't find Eugene Cesar. I'll look him up and maybe cover this in another video. But what do you guys think? I mean, I think this is super compelling, and God willing, we'll know, right, when the Kennedy files get released, if they're not all shredded. But tragically, I think that Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated by people in the intelligence community. That's my belief. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, if you enjoy the content, I'll have more coming probably on Thursday. So stay tuned. Bye.